So for the next part, we're going to go left to right, following the columns, filling these in. So the first up column is front hoop and steering protection. So if you look through each of these columns, we can kind of fill them out one by one, and with minimal issue. That makes it easy to isolate what part of the car we're working in, and easy to fill out the different boxes. So each column is going to start with a picture. Your picture needs to include any bit of information that pertains to the category you're in. Even if they don't specifically ask for it in here, you should have any information you filled out below. So we'll come back to the photo in a second. What I've got here is I've got the blank SES on the left, and I've got our filled out one from the combustion car over on the right. We're gonna scroll side by side and look at them. And hopefully we can fill this all out from the picture and from the knowledge we have. So the first thing it's gonna ask you about is the front hoop. If you're ever questioning which tube it is talking about, from that first video, remember, if we scroll all the way to the right, we have the vocabulary section. That has better, longer explanations that can help you get your bearing, as well as the actual rule number that you're typing this number in for always is listed on the left side. Once again, they made it really, really nice for documentation and for looking at it. And a couple of these dimensions also are called out in here. So for our front hoop, it's a size A, so we know what category it has to be. So our wall thickness in our case is 0.95. We've kept it full thickness. And it's gonna first ask us if we use round or square tube. We're using round tube. You can see it in our picture. It's also called out in our legend up above. So each color here corresponds to a certain tube size and shape. And then it's gonna ask us our outer diameter down here as well, which happens to be 1 inch for these tubes. And we're equivalent, so we're done on that guy. So next up is gonna ask us for our turned wheel minimum below the front hoop top. So you can see our sketch in here. I completely forget how to use the pen tool for this, but this sketch is an example of our steering wheel. You could put the physical unit in there. We choose just to put a sketch. It's the same skeleton we've designed off of from when the chassis was just lines. The important thing here is this must be the turned wheel. This has to be the tallest the wheel ever is. So in our case, we always set our diameter to slightly larger than the largest diameter that exists on the wheel. And that's what keeps us sane in this. But it's asking for the turn steering wheel minimum below the front hoop top. So from tangent to the top edge of the front hoop down to the top of the steering wheel, we have 1.75 inches. Next up, it's going to ask us for a front hoop to steering wheel gap. So what it's asking for is from the tangent edge of our front hoop at the top to the back of our steering wheel, what is that gap? You'll notice in this one as well, it lists the maximum allowable, which is 9.8 inches. Clearly ours being an inch is well under, and that's why we're able to kind of, this measurement's not perfectly to that tangent edge, and our steering wheel is just a sketch. It's not a full wheel yet. But given that we're so far in that range, it's not minded. So we'll put in 1 inch and we're good. The angles are where it can get a little bit confusing. So this is asking the front hoop side angle above the upper side impact structure. So let's highlight a couple things here. So to do the front hoop side impact above upper SIS has to be less than 20 degrees. So what I've done is I've copied this picture out into Paint so I can have a pen and everything. So it's asking us for the front hoop side angle above the upper SIS. So let's go ahead and highlight the upper side impact structure. So it's this guy right here. So this is the upper SIS. And it's asking for the front hoop side angle above that. So we're already looking in a side view. So we've got that. And then obviously, this being the front hoop right here, this is what's in question. So we can already see that we've highlighted in our picture that it's 5 degrees. The reason it's asked the way it is you have excuse me, you have different limits for above that tube and below that tube. So above that tube, we cannot be tilted more than 20 degrees. Below that tube, it can't be more than 10. And the direction it's done is based on how it's braced as well. So it's important when we go through here, we highlight that above this tube, it's 5 degrees. And, we can see here, if this were our perpendicular line, this is here, we have 5 degrees. The reason I've highlighted it, in the way I did here with the angle is because this whole tube is at 5 degrees, which makes it really easy to fill out both this upper one, which is 5 degrees, and it's just asking angle. It doesn't matter which way it's leaning right now. And so for the second one, it's going to ask for the front hoop rearward lean above the upper side impact structure. This is asking for the same exact number. It's literally just because you're allowed to tilt forward 20 degrees and rearward a maximum of 10. So what we'll go ahead and put in here is -5. And you are able to put a negative because we are not leaned rearward. We are leaned forward towards the front of the car. And so we've satisfied that we do not need a hoop brace. If that was not satisfied, the category would unlock in the following columns that would make us enter, it would make us enter some more information to prove that we've adequately braced it. So going down, we have another question: is the steering rack inside the front hoop structure? The front hoop brace structure. So what it's referring to by that, so we have our front hoop and our front hoop and our front bulkhead. So all of this structure connecting this tube to this tube is allowable. So our steering rack is located right here, which is inside that structure. So what they're referring to mainly, and they have some of the pictures down below, is some teams are running underslung suspension, and so they had their steering rack beneath the car. And that would make it to where if your car went up and rode up a curb or anything, you might end up shoving your column up and into the passenger compartment, which is not good. So because of this, we've called out where our rack is present. We've shown that it is inside this perimeter. So we'll go ahead and answer that is inside, which instantly makes all this equivalent, and we don't have to put into any more views. If this were any more ambiguous, if it was close, if it was tight, if it was maybe partially sticking below, we would need to list that bigger. This is brand new to this year that they are really enforcing this rule, and that they've added the protection rules. So it's very important to make sure that the entire rack is above the bottom plane there and is protected. And that's it for the first column. They're pretty straightforward. I'll probably do another one with you guys, but they're fairly simple if you go step by step and you read the whole way. Review other SESs. They're an absolute great resource for seeing if you've missed anything, if you typed anything in right. Even when we're copying these over, getting ready to do a new SES, it's something you need to pay a lot of attention to. And if you ever make radical change to the chassis, you need to have the SES done before anything is considered in any design review, because that's an end-all be-all. If you're pushing the boundary and you're pushing the limit, there's no sense in it. Right now, with the chassis weight and stiffness we're at, it makes not a lot of sense to me to chance it. We've done that in the past, and we got bit in the butt for it. So keeps it interesting. Well, that's about it for one of the structural tabs. The rest are same format, same way, just in varying parts of the chassis. That's about it.